Today, let's play a game. I'm going to show you the challenge that Ted faced. You think about the problem, about what it is, and how you would solve it. And then we see together what Ted actually does. When a problem lands in front of you, how do you react? Most of us try to fix the leak. We patch the immediate issue, stop the pain for now, and move on. But often, the leak comes back because the real problem was much deeper in the pipe. Now, Ted Lasso is the opposite. He doesn't just fix what's in front of him, but he digs, he listens, and he solves for the long term. So think about it. Rebecca hating him from the start. Jamie acting like a diva. Roy losing his spark, Sam failing to perform. Each case looks simple at a first glance, but Ted always asks, what's really going on here? And that's what makes him such a master problem solver. So today, let's play a game. I'm going to show you the challenge that Ted faced. You think about the problem, about what it is, and how you would solve it. And then we see together what Ted actually does. Let's start with Rebecca. She hires Ted not because she wants him to succeed, but because she wants him to fail. Why? Because she wants to sabotage her ex-husband Rupert by destroying the club that he loved so much. Now, here's the challenge. Your boss secretly wants you to fail. They undermine you at every turn. So what would you do? Would you fight back? Call her out? Quit? Ted does none of these. Why? Because he knows that the real problem isn't him. It's her pain. She's grieving, she's angry, she's trying to take control. And Ted, he never compromises who he is. Remember those early episodes when Rebecca glares and dismissing him, and Ted just keeps showing up, cheerful, consistent, kind. He stays true to himself, supports the staff, backs his players, builds a culture that she cannot break. Remember the biscuits with the boss scene? Well, every morning, no matter how cold or dismissive she was, Ted showed up with the pink box. And that wasn't just about shortbread. It was about consistency. It was about kindness, refusing to let her hostility define him. So slowly, Rebecca's defenses crumble, and not because Ted beat her, but because he built something stronger than her hate. Now let me ask you, if someone kept trying to sabotage you, would you keep bringing them biscuits every morning? Or would you give up on them? Now that's the difference between a surface fix and a long-term solution. Now I'm not saying that you need to allow everyone to sabotage you, but at times, there's something behind that surface. And that's long-term problem solving. Not fighting the person, but changing the environment. So I have a reflection for you. How often do we focus on battling someone's behavior when the real move is to hold steady to our values and shift the ground beneath them? Now, let's talk Jamie Tartt. So flashy, arrogant, he refuses to pass the ball. On the surface, ego problem. So what would you do with him? Would you bench him? Would you punish him? Would you trade him? It's a tough choice. Ted looks deeper. Remember those training scenes with Jamie strutting, rolling his eyes, mocking drills? It looks like arrogance. But Ted recognizes that arrogance is often an armor. Underneath his armor, Jamie's a young man terrified of being seen as weak, scarred by an abusive father, and trapped in a world where his worth is defined only by winning. So Ted doesn't crush Jamie's ego outright. It wouldn't have worked. He gives it a little space. He lets him shine enough to feel secure before nudging him to connect with the team. And then comes the turning point. Remember when Jamie finally passes the ball for the win? Well, that moment matters because Ted didn't just fix the behavior, but he solved the deeper cause. And so that change stuck. Over time, Jamie learns that true greatness isn't just standing above teammates, but it's standing with them. Ted solves the real problem, which was insecurity, not arrogance. So think about this. When you see someone acting out in your life, do you just react to the behavior? Or do you ask, wait, what pain might be hiding underneath? And I have another question for you. Would you have risked keeping Jamie on the team, believing that there was something redeemable under all that arrogance? Or would you have just sent him packing? That's fine, but it's worth reflecting on it. Next up, Roy Kent. Grumpy, aging, slower on the pitch. So what's the surface problem here? He's not fit enough. But how would you solve it? Push him harder in training? Bench him for younger players? Ted sees deeper again. He's not just rejecting stretches, faster runs. What Roy is doing is rejecting the truth that he is slowing down. The real problem isn't his legs, but it's his identity. Roy is terrified of becoming irrelevant, of no longer be the Roy Kent, the legend that he's used to. So Ted doesn't just say, run faster. He helps Roy reframe his role, from star midfielder to leader, mentor, eventually coach. And so Ted solves that existential problem, and he helps Roy to embrace a new identity. Look at the moments outside the football pitch. Roy with Keely, with Phoebe, all those scenes show that his life has meaning beyond the pitch. Ted gently nudges him towards that truth, until Roy himself can finally embrace it and accept a new identity. And that's why Roy finds purpose again, not because of fitness drills, but because someone helped him to see who he could become. There's different stages in our life, so think about your own life. Maybe there are also situations in which you're pushing harder and harder and harder at the surface, but the real solution might be to just reframe your role, embrace a new chapter, a new identity. Finally, we have Sam Obisanya. So early on, his performance is not great. He misses shots, he loses confidence. And what is the surface explanation here? That maybe he's not skilled enough to play at this level. So if you were a coach, what would you do? Extra drills, stern talks, maybe bench him? That's what most people would do. But Ted sees something else. Sam isn't lazy or untalented, he's homesick. He's far from Nigeria, he feels disconnected, the culture shock is weighing him down. So what does Ted do? He doesn't scold or push, he doesn't yell about goals, he doesn't just try to fix the surface. He creates belonging. Remember the birthday scene? It's one of my favorites. Like the whole team surprises Sam with cakes, balloons, singing, and he feels seen, valued, cared for. His shy smile, his shoulders relaxing, the joy of being seen. It's not just a party for him, that's an actual solution long term. And suddenly he flourishes. Not because Ted fixed his football skills, but because he solved the deeper need for connection, which lay underneath. And so the real problem wasn't performance for him, but it was belonging. So this made me reflect on something as well. When someone around you underperforms, maybe at work, in your family, do you assume that it's a skill issue? Motivation issue? Or do you pause and ask, okay, wait, what human need might be unfulfilled right now? Because that will help dig deeper. Now Rebecca, Jamie, Roy, Sam, 4 problems that looked simple on the surface, but that shows us the truth, which is that the real problem is almost never the one that you just see first. Rebecca's hate wasn't about Ted, it was about her pain. Jamie's arrogance wasn't ego, but it was insecurity. Roy's slump wasn't fitness, it was his identity. And Sam's mistakes weren't skills, but they were homesickness. What's more, across all of these things, Ted was always consistent. He always led with kindness. He always stayed curious about the real issue. And he never compromised his values. And that's the heart of real problem solving. If you want to dig deep, you need curiosity, not judgment. Most of us jump to conclusions. You know what? She's toxic. He's arrogant. He's lazy. But Ted pauses and he asks, what's really going on here? Remember the darts scene in the pub? It's very famous because Rupert challenges Ted, thinking that he will humiliate him. But Ted calmly explains that all his life, people underestimated him because they weren't curious. They never asked questions and never tried to understand who he really was. And then, bullseye. Ted proves his point, not just in darts, but in life, which is curiosity changes everything. And that's exactly what he does as a coach. He stays curious about Rebecca, for example, instead of judging her. He stays curious about Jamie instead of labeling him. He stays curious about Rory instead of writing him off, and curious about Sam instead of just blaming him. That's how he finds the real problems and also the long-lasting solutions. So that's the lesson for me: kindness, curiosity, and values. And here's a question to carry with you this week. Are you fixing leaks or are you repairing pipes? Are you judging from the surface or are you getting curious enough to see what's really underneath? We need to become investigators. So here's your challenge for this week. When a problem shows up this week, don't just patch the leak. Pause and ask, what's really going on here? And then solve that, because that's when you stop fighting symptoms and start building lasting solutions.